Captain Lisa Murphy stood on the bridge of the U's Harmony and watched the massive alien ship grow larger on the main screen. Her hand shook just a little as she smoothed her dress uniform. This was it, the first official meeting between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. 20 years of space travel had led to this moment. The Zephyrian vessel looked like a crystal palace floating in space. Thousands of lights sparkled across its surface like stars. Lisa had seen pictures, but nothing prepared her for the real thing. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Lisa turned to her crew. They all looked nervous, but excited. "Commander?" Beth Torres gave her a small nod. Dr. Maya Patel checked her recording equipment one more time. Everyone knew how important this day was for humanity. The communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect English with a strange musical quality. It was the voice of Queen Velnara herself. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We are honored by your presence. Please dock at Bay 7. Our guards will escort you to the throne room." Lisa felt something odd when she heard that voice. There was something familiar about it, but she could not place what it was. Maybe she was just nervous. The docking went smoothly. Lisa and her small team stepped through the airlock into a world of wonder. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Strange flowers grew from the ceiling and filled the air with sweet scents. Everything was beautiful, but alien. 2 tall guards waited for them. They wore armor that looked like it was carved from moonstone. Their faces were hidden behind masks that sparkled like diamonds. They spoke no words but motioned for the humans to follow. The walk to the throne room took 15 minutes through corridors that defied imagination. Lisa saw gardens floating in mid-air and waterfalls that flowed upward. Windows showed views of space that made her dizzy. This was technology far beyond anything Earth had achieved. Finally, they reached massive doors that opened without sound. The throne room was enormous. The ceiling stretched up so high that clouds formed near the top. Hundreds of alien courtiers filled the space. They all turned to stare at the humans with eyes like jewels. At the far end of the room sat the throne. It was carved from a single piece of blue crystal and seemed to glow from within. And on that throne sat Queen Velnara. Lisa stopped breathing for a moment. The queen was tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like water under moonlight. Her hair was silver and moved as if underwater. She wore a crown of living crystal that pulsed with her heartbeat. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at, but there was something else. Something that made Lisa feel like she was falling through space and time. The queen moved her head in a way that was achingly familiar. When she smiled, it was with one corner of her mouth slightly higher than the other. Lisa had seen that smile before, but where? The formal ceremony began. Queen Velnara spoke about peace and friendship between their peoples. She talked about trade and knowledge sharing. Her words were wise and kind, but Lisa barely heard them. She was too busy staring at the queen and trying to remember. When the queen mentioned Earth customs, she knew things that seemed too specific. She talked about harvest festivals and birthday parties with cake and candles. She mentioned children playing in summer rain and catching fireflies in jars. These were not things aliens should know about. During a break in the ceremony, Lisa excused herself to use the facilities. Really, she needed time to think. In the small chamber, she pulled out her personal tablet and activated the recording function. She had been filming everything for the Earth archives. She replayed the queen's words about fireflies. When Queen Velnara said that phrase, her voice had changed. Just for a second it had sounded different, younger, more human. Lisa felt her heart start to race. This was impossible, but she could not shake the feeling. She thought about the old yearbook in her quarters back on the ship, the one she kept for sentimental reasons from her high school days in Cedar Falls, Iowa. The ceremony continued for 2 more hours. Lisa tried to focus on the diplomatic protocols, but her mind kept wandering. Every gesture the queen made seemed familiar. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the way she tilted her head when thinking, the way she laughed at something one of her advisors whispered. Finally, the formal meeting ended. Queen Velnara announced that the humans would be honored guests for 3 days. They would have quarters in the palace and full access to the cultural centers. Tomorrow there would be private meetings to discuss the details of the alliance. As the humans were escorted to their rooms, Lisa felt the Queen's eyes on her. She turned and saw Queen Velnara, watching her with an expression that was hard to read. For just a moment, their eyes met across the vast throne room. The Queen looked surprised and maybe a little afraid. That night, Lisa sat alone in her luxurious quarters. The room was beautiful with walls that showed the stars outside and a bed that felt like sleeping on clouds. But she could not rest. She kept thinking about the Queen, and that nagging feeling of recognition. Finally, she went to her luggage and pulled out the old yearbook from Cedar Falls High School. She had brought it as a reminder of home during the long journey. Now she flipped through the pages, looking for something she was not sure she would find. On page 43, she found it. The baby picture section where parents had submitted photos of all the students when they were small. There in the bottom row was a picture of Katie Sullivan, 8 years old, with blonde hair and bright blue eyes, smiling that same lopsided smile she had seen on Queen Velnara. Lisa stared at the picture for a long time. Katie Sullivan had been her best friend until the day she disappeared during a camping trip in the woods outside town. The search had gone on for weeks, but they never found her body. Everyone assumed she had been killed by wild animals, or had fallen into the river. But what if she had not died? What if something else had happened? Something impossible. Lisa looked at the picture again, and then at her recording of the Queen. The resemblance was there, if you knew what to look for. The shape of the eyes, the way the mouth curved, even the way she held her shoulders. It was crazy. It was impossible. But Lisa could not shake the feeling that she had found her lost friend among the stars. Katie Sullivan was dead. Everyone knew that. But Queen Velnara was very much alive, and Lisa had 3 days to figure out if she was losing her mind or if she had stumbled onto the biggest secret in the galaxy. The next morning Lisa woke early and spent an hour reviewing everything she knew about Katie Sullivan. They had been inseparable as children. Katie had been the brave one, always climbing higher trees and exploring deeper into the woods. She had been kind to everyone, even the kids other people picked on. Her mother, Amy Sullivan, made the best chocolate chip cookies in Cedar Falls, and Katie always shared them. Lisa remembered their secret treehouse behind the old Miller farm. They had built it themselves, using boards Katie had convinced her father to buy. They spent whole summers up there reading comics and planning adventures. Katie had been afraid of only one thing: the dark basement of the Miller farmhouse where they sometimes dared each other to explore. Now, Lisa had to find out if any of these memories meant anything to an alien queen. The breakfast meeting was held in a smaller room with walls that showed peaceful Earth-like landscapes. Lisa wondered if this was coincidence, or if the Queen had chosen these images on purpose. Queen Velnara sat across from her at a table made of what looked like solidified starlight. Lisa decided to start small. She mentioned how beautiful the room was, and how the landscapes reminded her of home. Queen Velnara smiled, and said she had always been fascinated by Earth nature. She talked about forests and meadows in ways that seemed too personal for someone who had never been there. Then Lisa took a chance. She mentioned how much she missed summer evenings back home, the way children would run around catching fireflies and putting them in jars. She watched the Queen's face carefully as she spoke. Queen Velnara went very still. Her hand stopped moving toward her cup of tea. Her eyes got a distant look like she was remembering something from long ago. Then she blinked, and the moment passed. "We have similar insects here," the Queen said, but her voice sounded different. Softer somehow. Lisa pressed a little harder. She talked about her childhood in Iowa, about summer camps and hiking trips, about getting lost in the woods and how scary that could be for a young child. Queen Velnara listened with an intensity that seemed strange for polite conversation. When Lisa mentioned the old Miller farm, the Queen actually flinched. It was small, but Lisa caught it. Queen Velnara quickly turned the conversation to trade agreements, but Lisa had seen enough. The rest of the day was filled with official meetings and tours of the palace. Lisa met with Zephyrian scientists and artists. She learned about their culture and history. But part of her mind was always watching Queen Velnara and looking for more clues. That evening there was a formal dinner with hundreds of guests. Lisa sat at the high table near the Queen. The food was amazing and unlike anything from Earth. But Lisa barely tasted it. She was too busy listening to Queen Velnara talk with her advisors. The Queen spoke about new policies she wanted to implement across the empire. Laws to protect orphaned children. Educational reforms that emphasized creativity over rigid learning. Environmental protection for worlds that were being strip-mined by corporations. These were remarkably human concerns for an alien ruler. After dinner, Queen Velnara invited Lisa for a private walk in the palace gardens. They strolled through groves of singing trees and past ponds filled with fish that glowed like lanterns. Other guests and guards stayed far enough away to give them privacy. Lisa decided this was her chance. She started talking about her own childhood again, about the friends she had lost over the years, about how sometimes she wondered what had happened to the kids who had disappeared. "I had a best friend once," Lisa said. "Her name was Katie Sullivan. We did everything together until one day she just vanished. We were on a camping trip, and she wandered off into the woods. They never found her body, but everyone assumed she was dead." Queen Velnara stopped walking. She stood very still, looking up at the alien stars. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "What was she like, this Katie?" Lisa felt her heart racing. This was not idle curiosity. The Queen really wanted to know. "She was brave," Lisa said. "Always the first to try something new or explore somewhere dangerous. She was kind too. She never let anyone be mean to the smaller kids. And she was smart. Top of our class in everything. Queen Velnara was quiet for a long time. Then she asked another question. Did she have family? Her parents, Amy and Bill Sullivan? Her little brother Danny, who was only 5 when she disappeared. They never got over losing her. Amy still sets a place for Katie at Christmas dinner, just in case she comes home someday." The Queen made a sound like a sob, but when Lisa looked at her, she was composed again. They walked back to the palace in silence. The next day Lisa was supposed to meet with Ambassador Kirith to discuss technical details of the trade agreement. But Kirith seemed nervous and distracted. He kept looking over his shoulder like he expected someone to be listening. "Captain Murphy," he said finally, "I must warn you about something. Your questions about our Queen's past have been noticed. There are those in the court who think you are being inappropriate." Lisa tried to look innocent. "I was just making conversation." Kirith shook his head. "The Queen's early life is forbidden territory. Previous diplomatic missions from other worlds have failed when visitors became too curious about her origins. I would hate to see the same thing happen to humanity's first contact." "Why is it forbidden?" Lisa asked. "There are state secrets that must be protected," Kirith said. "The Queen has enemies who would use any personal information against her. Please be more careful with your questions." But Lisa could not stop now. She was too close to the truth. That afternoon she requested another private meeting with Queen Velnara. This time they met in the Queen's personal study. It was smaller and more comfortable than the formal rooms. Books from dozens of worlds lined the shelves, and on the desk was something that made Lisa gasp. It was a small wooden box carved with flowers. Lisa recognized it immediately. She had made it in woodshop class and given it to Katie for her 8th birthday. It was the last present she had ever given her friend. Queen Velnara saw her looking at the box. Her composed mask slipped for just a moment, and Lisa saw raw emotion underneath. Fear and hope and terrible longing. "Where did you get that?" Lisa asked. The queen picked up the box and held it like something precious. It was a gift, she said, from someone very important to me, someone I lost a long time ago. Lisa felt tears stinging her eyes. Katie, she whispered. Queen Valnara looked at her with eyes that were suddenly very human, despite their alien color. You remember me. It was not a question. It was a statement full of wonder and disbelief. Lisa nodded, unable to speak. I thought I had imagined you, Queen Valnara said. After all these years, I thought maybe you were just a dream I made up to feel less alone. The alien queen began to cry. Her tears were silver, and they glowed softly as they fell. Lisa reached across the desk and took her friend's hand. It felt strange and familiar at the same time. What happened to you? Lisa asked. How did you end up here? Queen Valnara looked around the room, as if checking for listeners. Then she leaned forward and spoke in a voice so low, Lisa could barely hear her. I was taken, she said, and they changed me into something I was never meant to be. Queen Valnara led Lisa to a hidden chamber deep in the palace. The walls here were different from the rest of the building. They looked older and more primitive. Ancient symbols covered the surfaces, and the air felt heavy with secrets. I can only tell you this story, once the queen said, and you must promise never to repeat it while I am alive. Too many people depend on me now for the truth to come out. Lisa promised, and sat down on a stone bench. Queen Valnara began to pace as she spoke. Her alien grace could not hide the very human nervousness underneath. I was 8 years old when it happened, the queen began. We were camping with your family and mine near Eagle Creek. I wandered off to look for berries like I always did, but this time I went too far from the campsite. Lisa remembered that day clearly. Katie had been gone for hours before anyone noticed. The adults had organized search parties and called the police. They looked for 3 weeks but found nothing. I was picking blackberries when the light appeared, the queen continued. It was not like anything I had ever seen. Bright white, but it did not hurt to look at. A ship landed in the clearing and beings came out. They looked like tall, thin humans, but their skin was gray and their eyes were too big. The queen stopped, pacing, and stared at the ancient symbols on the wall. They were scientists, she said, researchers studying human development. They had been watching Earth children for years, looking for specific genetic markers. I had what they needed. What did they need? Lisa asked, though she was afraid of the answer. The Zephyrian royal bloodline was dying, the queen explained. They had become too isolated and inbred over thousands of years. Their children were weak and sickly. Many died before reaching adulthood. They needed fresh genetic material to save their species. Lisa felt sick. You were just a child, Queen Valnara nodded. The original plan was to study me for a few days and return me. But when they ran their tests, they discovered something unexpected. My human DNA was not just compatible with theirs. It was perfect. I could carry the genetic information. They needed to restore their bloodline, so they kept you. They had no choice from their perspective, the queen said bitterly. The survival of their entire species was at stake. One human child seemed like a small price to pay. The queen sat down beside Lisa on the stone bench. Her alien features could not hide the pain in her expression. They brought me here to Zephyr Prime, she continued. The royal scientists began the transformation process immediately. They said it would be easier if I was young. My body and mind would adapt better to the changes. What kind of changes? Lisa asked. Physical alterations first. They changed my skin and hair and eyes to match their appearance. They enhanced my strength and extended my lifespan. They made me taller and gave me abilities no human should have. But the worst part was what they did to my mind. Queen Valnara touched her temple with one long finger. They tried to erase my human memories, she said. They thought it would be kinder if I forgot my old life completely. But human minds are more resilient than they expected. The memories went deep, but they never disappeared entirely. Lisa felt tears running down her face. All these years she had wondered what happened to her friend. The truth was worse than anything she had imagined. How long did the transformation take? Lisa asked. Years, the Queen replied. I spent my childhood in the royal medical facilities being altered and educated. They taught me Zephyrian history and customs. They trained me in politics and warfare and diplomacy. They prepared me to rule an empire I had never chosen to be part of. But you remembered who you were. Pieces of it, the Queen said. Dreams mostly at first. Images of a place with yellow cornfields and red barns. The taste of chocolate chip cookies. The sound of earthbirds singing. For the longest time I thought these were fantasies my mind created to cope with the stress. When did you realize the truth? Not until I was crowned queen at 18, the Queen replied. The ceremony required me to touch the crown of memory. It is an ancient artifact that connects each ruler to all who came before. But when I touched it, something unexpected happened. What, instead of connecting me to dead Zephyrian kings, it connected me to my human past. Suddenly I could remember everything. Your face, our tree house, the way your mother laughed, the smell of summer rain on hot pavement. I realized that my dreams were not fantasies, but memories of a life I had lost. Lisa reached over and took her friend's hand again. What did you do? I nearly broke down during my own coronation, the Queen admitted. But I was already committed to ruling. Millions of Zephyrians depended on their new queen. I could not abandon them, even if I had never chosen this life. So you stayed. I stayed, but I changed things. I used my human memories to become a different kind of ruler than they expected. Instead of the cold, distant monarch they were used to, I tried to lead with compassion. I created laws to protect children who could not protect themselves. I reformed the education system to encourage creativity instead of rigid conformity. I fought to preserve natural environments instead of exploiting them for profit. Lisa began to understand. That is why your policies seem so human. I smuggled human values into Zephyrian society, the Queen said, with a sad smile. It was the only way I could honor the life I should have lived. The only way I could stay connected to the little girl who used to catch fireflies with her best friend. The Queen stood up and walked to a wall covered in star charts. But I never stopped looking for a way back to Earth, she said. For 20 years, I have been maneuvering to make contact with humanity. This diplomatic mission was not about politics or trade. It was about finding you, me, specifically. You and everyone else I left behind, the Queen replied. I needed to know if my family was still alive. I needed to apologize for disappearing. I needed to tell them that I never forgot, even when they tried to make me forget. Lisa felt her heart breaking for her friend. All these years Katie had been trapped in an alien world carrying the burden of ruling people she never chose to lead, and she had done it alone. Your parents are still alive, Lisa said. Amy and Bill are in their 60s now, but they are healthy. Danny grew up and became a teacher. He has 3 kids of his own, and Amy still makes chocolate chip cookies every Sunday. Queen Velnara began to cry again. Her silver tears caught the light and sparkled like stars. Do they still remember me? She asked. Every day, Lisa replied. Your picture is on the mantle in the living room. Your bedroom is exactly the way you left it. Amy talks about you like you just went to the store and will be back any minute. The Queen covered her face with her hands and sobbed. For several minutes she could not speak. When she finally looked up, her alien features were full of very human grief. I can never go back, she said. Even if I wanted to abandon my responsibilities here, I am no longer human enough to live on Earth. The transformation cannot be reversed, but you are still Katie, Lisa said firmly. Under all the alien modifications, you are still my friend who shared her cookies and built tree houses and was afraid of dark basements. Queen Velnara smiled through her tears. I have missed you so much, Lisa, she said. For 20 years I have ruled an empire, but I have never felt more alone than when I lost my best friend. You are not alone now, Lisa replied, and I have an idea about how we can fix this. 3 days later, alarms began blaring throughout the Zephyrian Palace. Lisa was in her quarters reviewing diplomatic papers when Commander Torres burst through the door. "Captain, we have a problem," Torres said. "Long-range sensors are picking up a massive fleet approaching the system. They are flying Korthok battle flags." Lisa felt her blood turn cold. The Korthoks were the ancient enemies of the Zephyrian Empire. For centuries they had fought brutal wars over territory and resources. If they were coming here in force, it meant trouble. Lisa and her team rushed to the war room, where Queen Velnara was already meeting with her military advisors. The alien queen looked calm, but Lisa could see the tension in her shoulders. She knew that look from when they were children, and Katie was trying to be brave about something that scared her. Admiral Traven was displaying tactical information on a holographic screen. The Korthok fleet was enormous. 300 warships, including 5 massive dreadnoughts. They would reach Sephir Prime in 18 hours. "Your Majesty, Admiral," Traven said, "our scouts report that the Korthok ships are equipped with new weapons, something we have never seen before. They appear to be specifically designed to target biological systems, rather than ships or shields." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. She looked at Queen Velnara and saw the same realization in her friend's eyes. The Korthaks had somehow learned about the Queen's human origin. They were coming to kill her specifically. Queen Velnara straightened in her chair and addressed her advisors with the voice of a ruler who had never lost a battle. "What is the status of our defensive fleet?" she asked. Admiral Traven looked uncomfortable. "We have 150 ships ready for combat, Your Majesty. Our pilots are brave, and our technology is superior, but we are outnumbered 2 to 1. The room fell silent. Everyone knew that even superior technology could not overcome those odds. The Zephyrian Empire was facing its greatest crisis in 1,000 years. Lisa stepped forward. "Your Majesty, may I suggest something?" Queen Velnara nodded. "All ideas are welcome, Captain Murphy." Lisa took a deep breath. She was about to suggest something that would either save both their civilizations or get them all killed. "The Korthoks are expecting to fight Zephyrians," Lisa said. "They have studied your military tactics for centuries. They know how your ships move and how your commanders think, but they have never fought humans before." Admiral Traven looked confused. "I do not understand, Captain. You have only 1 ship and 20 crew members. How could that make a difference?" Lisa smiled. "Not just my ship, Admiral. Human tactics, human unpredictability, human refusal to follow the rules when survival is at stake." She turned to Queen Velnara. "Katie, you know how humans think. We do not fight the same way as other species. We adapt and improvise and do things that seem crazy to everyone else. The Korthaks will not expect that." Queen Velnara began to nod slowly. "You want to combine human tactics with Zephyrian technology." "Exactly," Lisa said. "Your ships are faster and more powerful than anything Earth has built. Your weapons are centuries ahead of ours. But your military thinking is too rigid, too predictable. We can change that." Admiral Traven looked skeptical. "Captain Murphy, with respect, what do humans know about space warfare? Your species has barely left your own solar system." Lisa grinned. "Admiral, we have been fighting wars on Earth for thousands of years. We have learned things about combat that you cannot imagine. Things that work whether you are fighting with sticks and stones, or energy weapons and force fields." Queen Val stood up. "Admiral, I am placing Captain Murphy in charge of fleet tactics for this battle. She and her team will work with our commanders to develop new strategies." Admiral Traven looked shocked. "Your Majesty, I must protest. This is highly irregular." "It is also our only chance," Queen Velnara replied. "The Korthaks know everything about how we fight. They do not know anything about how humans fight. That gives us an advantage we cannot afford to waste." For the next 16 hours, Lisa worked with the Zephyrian military staff to completely reorganize their battle plans. She threw out centuries of established doctrine and replaced it with human concepts that seemed insane to alien minds. Instead of meeting the enemy in organized formations, Lisa split the fleet into small groups that would attack from unexpected angles. Instead of targeting enemy ships based on threat assessment, she had them focus on creating chaos and confusion. Instead of following rigid command structures, she gave individual captains permission to break formation and improvise. The Zep officers were horrified by these tactics. They had been trained to fight with precision and discipline. Lisa was asking them to fight like pirates and rebels, but Queen Velnara supported every suggestion. She understood human thinking in ways her advisors could not. She had been human once, and some part of her still was. Lisa also worked with Dr. Patel to modify human weapons for Zephyrian ships. Earth railguns and missile systems were primitive compared to alien technology, but they worked differently than anything the Korthoks had encountered. The surprise factor might give them a crucial edge. Meanwhile, Queen Velnara made her own preparations. She met privately with her closest advisors and recorded messages to be sent throughout the Empire if she was killed. She also sent a coded transmission to Earth containing information about Zephyrian technology and culture. Humanity would benefit from her knowledge even if she did not survive. The night before the battle, Lisa found Queen Velnara standing alone on a balcony overlooking the Crystal Gardens. Her friend looked small and vulnerable, despite her alien height and regal bearing. "Are you afraid?" Lisa asked. Terrified Queen Velnara replied, "Not of dying, but of failing. If I am killed, the Korthoks will destroy this world and everyone on it. Billions of lives depend on the decisions I make tomorrow." Lisa put her hand on her friend's shoulder. "You are not alone, Katie. We are in this together, just like when we were kids exploring the woods." Queen Velnara smiled sadly. "I used to dream about fighting alongside you again. I never imagined it would be in space against alien warships." The little girl, who was afraid of dark basements, grew up to rule an empire, Lisa said. "I think she can handle some Korthak bullies." The battle began at dawn. Lisa stood on the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship watching the enemy fleet approach. The Korthok ships moved in perfect formation, like a vast machine designed for destruction. They were beautiful and terrible and utterly confident. Queen Velnara sat in the command chair wearing battle armor that gleamed like starlight. She looked every inch the warrior queen, but Lisa could see the frightened child underneath. Katie had always tried to be brave, even when she was scared. "Enemy weapons are charging," Admiral Traven reported. "They will be in firing range in 2 minutes." Queen Velnara looked at Lisa and nodded. It was time to find out if human chaos could defeat alien order. "All ships," Lisa said into the communication system. "Remember, you are not fighting a battle today. You are fighting a war. Do whatever you have to do to win." The Korthok dreadnoughts opened fire with their new biological weapons. Beams of sickly green energy lanced through space, targeting the flagship where Queen Velnara commanded the defense. But the flagship was not where they expected it to be. The Korthok weapons fired at empty space. Queen Velnara had followed Lisa's advice and moved the flagship to an unexpected position behind one of Zephyr Prime's moons. The enemy fleet suddenly found themselves shooting at shadows, while Zephyr ships attacked from directions no military manual had ever considered. Lisa watched the battle unfold on the tactical display. Human unpredictability was working exactly as she had hoped. Zephyrian pilots broke formation and attacked individual targets instead of following coordinated patterns. They used asteroids and debris as cover in ways that violated every rule of space combat. They fired human-designed weapons that behaved differently than anything the Korthoks had prepared for. Admiral Traven was coordinating the defense from his position on the flagship. At first he had been reluctant to follow human tactics, but now he was embracing the chaos. His ships moved like wolves hunting in packs, instead of soldiers marching in formation. "Enemy command ship is attempting to retreat," he reported. They did not expect this level of resistance. Do not let them escape, Lisa ordered. If even one ship returns to Korthok space, they will know our new tactics and adapt to them. Queen Valnara was monitoring communications from across the battle zone. Her human intuition was proving as valuable as alien technology. She could sense when enemy commanders were confused or demoralized and directed attacks to take advantage of their weakness. The turning point came when Dr. Patel's modified human weapons began hitting their targets. The Korthok ships had shields designed to stop energy weapons and particle beams. They were not prepared for solid projectiles fired at significant fractions of light speed. Human railgun rounds punched through their defenses like bullets through paper. Within 4 hours, the battle was over. Half the Korthok fleet had been destroyed, and the other half was fleeing toward the edge of the system. The Zephyrian Empire had won its greatest victory in centuries, using tactics borrowed from a species that had not even mastered interstellar travel. Queen Valnara stood in the center of the war room, receiving congratulations from her admirals and advisors. But Lisa could see that her friend was not celebrating. The weight of command was still heavy on her shoulders. Later that evening, Lisa found Queen Valnara in her private study. The wooden box Katie had kept all these years was sitting on the desk between them. "You did it, Lisa," said. "You saved your people." "We did it," Queen Valnara replied. "Human thinking and Zephyrian technology together. Neither of us could have won alone." Lisa sat down across from her friend. "I have been thinking about what happens next." Queen Valnara looked up with interest. "What do you mean?" "This battle proved that humans and Zephyrians are stronger together than apart," Lisa explained. "Maybe it is time to make that partnership official." Queen Valnara nodded slowly. "A formal alliance between Earth and the Empire? Equal partners instead of one species protecting the other?" Lisa smiled. "I will need to return to Earth to negotiate the details, but I think both our governments will be interested in this arrangement." Over the following weeks, Lisa worked with Queen Valnara and the Zephyrian Council to draft a treaty that would change both civilizations forever. Earth would gain access to advanced alien technology that would solve humanity's energy and environmental problems. The Zephyrian Empire would benefit from human creativity and adaptability in ways they were only beginning to understand, but the most important part of the agreement was personal. Lisa negotiated for regular diplomatic visits between the two worlds. She would serve as Earth's first interstellar ambassador, ensuring that Queen Valnara would never again be alone with her memories. The day before Lisa's departure, Queen Valnara gave her a package wrapped in silver cloth. "For my family," she said quietly. "Pictures and recordings from my life here, so they know what happened to their daughter." Lisa accepted the package carefully. "I will make sure they get this. And Katie, I will tell them that you never forgot them, that everything you have accomplished here was done with love for the family you left behind." Queen Valnara began to cry again. Her silver tears sparkled in the light from the crystal windows. "I wish I could go with you," she said. "I wish I could see Earth again, and hug my parents, and taste my mother's cookies." "You cannot go back," Lisa replied. "But maybe you can bring Earth to you." "What do you mean?" Lisa grinned. "The treaty includes provisions for cultural exchange. Students and teachers and artists traveling between our worlds. Your parents are getting old, but Danny has children now. Maybe some of them would like to visit their aunt, the alien queen." Queen Valnara's eyes went wide with hope. "You think they would come here?" "I think they would love to meet the amazing woman there Katie became," Lisa said. "And I think you have a lot to teach Earth's children about being brave and kind and never giving up hope." 6 months later, Lisa stood in the observation deck of an Earth transport ship, watching a group of excited teenagers prepare for their departure to Zephyr Prime. Among them was Danny Sullivan's oldest daughter, Sarah, who had her aunt's bright blue eyes and adventurous spirit. The first Zephyrian students had already arrived on Earth and were studying at universities around the globe. They brought with them knowledge that was revolutionizing human science and technology. More importantly, they brought friendship and understanding between species that had never imagined they could work together. Lisa often thought about the camping trip 20 years ago, when an 8-year-old girl had wandered into the woods and changed the course of galactic history. Katie Sullivan had been taken from her family and transformed into something she never chose to become. But she had used that transformation to build bridges between worlds and create a future where no child would ever be lost the way she had. Bendet, the transport ship, engaged its faster-than-light drive and jumped toward Zephyr Prime. Lisa watched the stars streak past the windows and smiled. She was going home to visit her best friend, the Alien Queen, and she was bringing pictures of the latest batch of chocolate chip cookies that Amy Sullivan had made specially for her long-lost daughter. In her quarters, Queen Velnara was preparing for another diplomatic meeting, but this time it was different. This time she was not alone with the weight of ruling an empire. This time she had family coming to visit, and friends who understood both sides of her nature. The little girl who had been afraid of dark basements had grown up to become a leader who brought light to the galaxy, and sometimes late at night, when she looked up at the stars, she could still hear the echo of childish laughter and remember what it felt like to catch fireflies on a summer evening with her best friend. Katie Sullivan was gone forever, but Queen Velnara remained, and she carried the best parts of both worlds in her heart, as she built a future where humans and aliens could learn from each other and grow together among the stars. The wooden box sat on her desk, filled with mementos from a life she could never return to, but now it was also filled with new memories. Pictures of her brother's children, letters from her aging parents, recordings of Earth music and stories, the past and present connected across the vastness of space by the simple power of love and friendship. She was no longer the lost child who had disappeared in the woods. She was the bridge between civilizations and the guardian of hope for both species. And every day, she worked to make sure that no other child would ever have to choose between the life they were born to live and the destiny they were called to fulfill.